Here is a little item in the news that I found quite intriguing. Maybe you hear about these things before I do, but we just like to pass it along. And there's always a takeaway. There's always some application to our lives. We interact with the FCC a lot. They're our governing body. They watch over all the broadcast world, TV, radio, etc. And so we've interacted with them from the get-go. They grant us a license to broadcast on TV and radio in our ministry. And when we hear something from the FCC, it always perks up our attention. Well, this is something that I think everybody ought to be attentive to. It's not just related to the broadcast world. I'm just quoting, this information is out there in different news sources, so let me just give you a synopsis here. The head of the U.S. Federal Communications Commission requested Apple and Google on Tuesday, this was just recently, last week, to remove TikTok from their app stores due to, quote, serious national security threats posed by the said mobile app. Now, fellas, let me just quote this to you, and listen, you can give me some comments here. In a letter dated June 24, FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr told Apple and Google to remove TikTok from their app stores as it quote, harvests extensive amounts of personal and sensitive data, unquote, from its American users. Statistics show that TikTok has been downloaded in the U.S. from the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store nearly 19 million times in the first quarter of this year alone. It is clear that TikTok poses an unacceptable national security risk due to its extensive data harvesting, being combined with Beijing's apparently unchecked access to that sensitive data, Carr wrote in his letter. Carr added that TikTok failed to follow and abide by the terms and policies imposed by the big tech world. It is also clear that TikTok's platform of conduct and misrepresentations regarding the unfettered access that persons in Beijing have to sensitive U.S. user data puts it out of compliance with the policies that both of your companies require every app to adhere to as a condition of remaining available on your app stores, Carr added. Carr warned the CEOs of Apple and Google that TikTok collects confidential and sensitive information, including face prints, voice prints, and location data. TikTok is not what it appears to be on the surface. It is not just an app for sharing funny videos or memes. That's the sheep's clothing. At its core, TikTok functions as a sophisticated surveillance tool that harvests extensive amounts of personal and sensitive data. Indeed, TikTok collects everything from search and browsing histories to keystroke patterns and biometric identifiers, including face prints, which researchers have said might be used in unrelated facial recognition technology, and voice prints. It collects location data as well as draft messages and metadata, plus it has collected the text, images, and videos that are stored on a device's clipboard. The list of personal and sensitive data it collects goes on from there. This should come as no surprise, however. Within its own borders, the PRC has developed some of the most invasive and omnipresent surveillance capabilities in the world to maintain authoritarian control, unquote. The People's Republic of China, Communist China. They like to surveil their people. They like to put them under their thumb. Authoritarians, tyrants, they can't control a nation unless they do such things. Well, I'll start with you, Neil. You're kind of younger than us, obviously, and you're more connected to this social media world. TikTok is something I've never interacted with. I've read about it a little bit, knew it's out there. I knew it was gaining such popularity. What really got it on my radar was a few years ago when then President Trump, banned TikTok and was in the process of taking it out. And by the way, one commentator points out that Trump was right again. In 2020, President Trump announced on Air Force One that he would ban China's TikTok from operating in the U.S. Well, in the following year, Joe Biden signed an executive order revoking a Trump-era order aimed at banning TikTok and WeChat. So there you have that as far as presidential leadership goes. Why ban it? Well, he was right. Now we have the FCC chairman saying we got to Google, Apple, take it off. Now, I don't know if they're going to, but why take it down? Because millions of Americans are handing over surveillance information to the Chinese Communist Party. You on TikTok, my friend?
I'm not, no. I have a lot of friends that are, and a lot of young people are.
Well, they know where they live, my friend.
Is the difference, according to this, because if you're on Facebook and Instagram, they're collecting a lot of data as well.
Yeah.
Is the difference that the Chinese government can get this data?
Well, you know, Facebook is not Beijing, right?
Right. Yeah, they might be there though. If you've read some of these, even some of these devices that are sold overseas in like China, they have to put backdoors in for their government.
Yeah.
But you mentioned like the facial, because it's a lot of these phones use, you know, facial recognition unlock. Well, that's not just your face; it's like a biometric thing. But I remember a few years ago, China in their churches, they had mounted cameras, and it wouldn't necessarily tell you who the person was, but it could tell how old they were, because it was illegal. If you were like a millennial, they can only have so many of them in their church. You know, they can't have all these young people hearing the gospel.
You got to indoctrinate them with communism, right?
But yeah, it's very interesting. Anybody that's studied the social media stuff will tell you if it's a free platform, you are the product.
Yeah.
But the scarier part is who's collecting all the data.
Well, we know that there's data that is collected, but the idea is that you have a right to privacy, and so you can't just indiscriminately collect data and distribute it. Mm-hmm. So there's some rules, guidelines, and we certainly don't want foreign governments tracking Harold and figuring out from Beijing where he lives, what he likes, and keep a close eye. Of course, I don't think, folks, we have to worry about that in the case of Brother White. I don't think he's messing around with TikTok.
Not the only TikTok I can remember will be where we played Tic-Tac-Toe.
Okay. Well, we knew the title TikTok would get Harold going. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, on a serious note, you know, this is a breach of national security. That's the issue the FCC is bringing to light. And they're telling Apple and Google, take them down. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I guess we'll wait and see. But, you know, the bigger issue of right to privacy and what people do with the data they collect about you, that's going to be an ongoing issue for the country within our borders, much less outside, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember a few years ago, I don't know if it's as popular as it was, but they had Snapchat, and they did a Find My Friends feature. And I think when it came out, maybe you could have turned it off right away, but a lot of people didn't know, and you could click and see your friends, and it would just bring up a map, and this is where your friends were. And then people were like, this is a big issue.
Right.
Because you could have predators or other people seeing, you've added people you don't know, and well, now you put that in the hands of a foreign government. Remember several years ago, our military members all around the world, you remember they were all wearing like Fitbits and things?
Okay.
And that was kind of a public thing. And I remember in Afghanistan, they had a popular, there was like a jogging route, and it would light up these heat maps. And they were saying, this is a national security issue because these other governments can see this because they're seeing where our people are training because they're doing their fitness apps.
Wow. Well, we're living in amazing times, and the surveillance state is upon us. We all are keeping an eye on such things, but thought you'd be interested in that, and you might want to pay attention to such things. And I hope that our companies here will follow the guidance of our FCC and take down the TikTok app from their stores because of national security threats.